Hello again, and welcome to the next episode of Outcomes. As always, I'm your host, Barrett King. With me today is a different guest. I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately. I'm trying to diversify the show, as the listeners know, and I appreciate unique perspectives. So Jakub is actually the CEO and founder, the head of, the chief guru in charge of a really interesting company, partneroutreach.io. They have a really interesting platform. I'll let him talk about it because I, frankly, am not having him sponsor this, but I just think it's an interesting idea. And we're going to get into what they do in particular, because I think it actually is a unique way of cultivating partnerships and building opportunities. So welcome to the show.
Barrett, super excited to be here. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. You know, I've had a bunch of conversations before the episode, obviously, and the time that we've spent together, I've been really impressed with the way that you think about partnerships and how different and creative you've been around, obviously, helping companies to get to where they are. Before we get into what you do and talk about that, I want to hear the most important question, which is, what does partnerships mean to you?
I mean, it's a great question. I was thinking about this before we started this call. And I think for me, it's quite simple. You know, it's when two companies join forces, intentionally join forces, to find ways to make their customers more satisfied and more successful. Because at the end of the day, it's really about making your customers win. And as a result, you will win.
Yeah, I like the satisfied and like more successful component of it too. Folks usually talk about like grow revenue, and there is a revenue component here, but I appreciate the customer first mentality. I myself subscribe to it. So you get bonus points there. You know, obviously, like we talked about just now, you said, you know, when they choose to work together, when they do work together, but part of what you do with your current company is help folks to think about the before partnership, the early engagement, that sort of leading market opportunity in terms of doing things better together. So I won't spoil the surprise. Give us, you know, call it your 60-second or less, whatever it is, elevator on what you do, how you're helping customers think differently, certainly who those customers are, because he's got guys, gals, he's got some big logos here. Like he's done some cool work, and share some of the just sort of overview, if you will, before we get into the details of how you're actually thinking about this differently.
So I'm quite new in the partnership space, and what I was doing before, and I still do to some extent, I built a podcast booking agency called Speak on Podcasts, and we booked over 2,500 interviews for some of the executives from brands like Gong, Canva, Paddle, and actually more than 100 other cool B2B SaaS companies. And what I've learned, you know, as I was building it, is basically how to do outreach, you know, because we needed to structure campaigns in a way that will get replies from podcast hosts, so they're excited to accept our customers as guests, and also how to create content. And now I'm basically, you know, taking these skills and applying it to what I found quite undersaturated partnership space, in terms of like creative ways on how to do outreach. So that's my main focus right now at partneroutreach.io. Speak on Podcasts was actually acquired in December 2022, but I'm still there, in the background mostly.
I love it. Well, congrats on that. Let's talk about what, you know, obviously your background's interesting and different. People usually come into this space with either sales or CS experience, or they obviously start in partnerships and sort of cultivate a career of dynamic roles that obviously leads them to, you know, develop a platform like what you're describing based on observation. So you have a fresh perspective. I appreciate the fresh lens. I think it matters. Let's talk about what you observed, right? So you said it was obviously a fairly unsaturated market. And again, to be clear, everybody, I'm just a fanboy. Like I like talking about this stuff. I think it's interesting. And this approach is kind of unique. So talk to me about, in the audience here, what you do. So how do you cultivate partnerships differently?
So what I do is that I help partnership teams to connect with their ideal partners by inviting them to co-create content together. You know, so I talked with a lot of partnership leaders in the past couple of months, and usually when it comes to content co-creation, they usually think about it after partner signs up. To activate them, to make sure that they're fully engaged and they start producing results. But I actually think it's a great way to start a relationship and cut through the noise when you are doing the outreach, you know, because most emails you receive are very gray. You know, if you're good, you get like 5% reply rates. And what you see if you actually invite your ideal partners to co-create content with you, and it can be, let's do a webinar together, or can you share your 2 cents for this article that I'm writing, or would you like to be featured in my LinkedIn content? people love this, and you will see much higher reply rates if you send outreach like this, because people feel valued. It strokes their ego. They feel amazing because you value their opinion. And I think that this is a great first step to begin relationship with potential partners. And then it makes all the further conversations so much easier.
Yeah, so folks, this is why I wanted to have my friend here on the show. I think what's different about this approach is it's a value first opportunity, which I don't think is necessarily a massive divergence from what a lot of us do in partnerships right now. We're trying to give value first, but maybe it's just because I came from a marketing tech background. I was at HubSpot, obviously, for folks that listen, you know that. And we always talked about when I was there, this idea of give first, educate first, give value first. So when I heard you talk about this, again, this is why I wanted to have you on the show, I started to realize like that's an interesting idea in terms of going to an ideal partner and saying, hey, we want to create an opportunity in the market wherein you get some value right off the bat. And maybe we use our audience to do it, or maybe we're an earlier stage company and we're trying to just gain some foothold in it. But this idea of content creation, so not asking for a sale, not asking to go to market together and do all this extra work, but just showing up and saying, I have this thing that we can talk about together that educates our customer on some mutual value. And let's go and do that. So let's talk about then what that looks like to start off. I think it's valuable for folks to think about where do they begin. So we've talked in previous episodes about identifying core partner market fit, right? So you're like ICP of partner. And a lot of that sits well within the framework of, well, who else are my customers working with and who else in the market is supporting, my ecosystem, my go-to-market opportunity. How do you identify these early partners that are a good fit to reach out to with the message of let's create content together, not join my partner program and sell my software or, deliver services or otherwise, just like, let's do something really cool and valuable for the market. How do you go about identifying that opportunity?
So I think that if you would visualize the job to be done timeline of a partnership person or someone who is handling partner program, let's say that the first step is partner strategy. Then there's partner acquisition. You can break it down to outreach, prospecting and so on. And then there's partner activation, onboarding. So I sit exactly in that partner acquisition / outreach part. So let's say that you already know who you want to reach. Maybe you even have a list, and you need creative way to reach this very finite list of prospects. It's not unlimited. There might be like 200 companies that you identified as ideal partners. So the question is how you do it without actually burning through that list, achieving 2% reply rates, and then finding hundreds of other companies who might not be such a good fit. And the way you do it is that you identify what type of content you could involve decision makers from these companies in. So let's say that your marketing team is writing an article on creative or how to do event attribution. So what you could do is that you can reach out to event platforms and their CEOs or CMOs and ask for their opinions. And they will get back to you because they see what's in it for them, if you position it correctly. So you can say that they will get a backlink, you will promote it on social media, this many people will see it. And as a result, you will begin the conversation. And then it's much easier to ask, hey, who's the right person to talk about partnerships in your organization? I might have some ideas.
It's so interesting to think about it, in terms of it being a marketing mechanism, right? Like my marketing hat just immediately came on my head here in this moment. For those of you that can see me, you can't see it, but pretend it's there, and just know that like I'm into this, man. This is interesting because, obviously you're talking about doing the thing that marketers are doing already in terms of acquiring good fit backlinks to your description, co-authored pieces of content, et cetera. Now we're saying turn that lens toward partnerships, be intentional around co-creating content early on. Does this work? Like, do I need to be early to do it? Do you think about this as something that a company should install into their just general go-to-market? We always will do this. How do you think about the content component of developing and expanding upon partnerships as a whole?
Well, I think if you think about content in general, I think that if you involve third parties there, it will always elevate that perceived value of that content. It's not just in-house piece of content that you created, but there are experts from other companies that your readers know sharing their opinions there as well. And because these people are proud that they're in that content, they will share it on their side as well. So they will feel, you will drive more traffic and more engagement on that piece of content. And what I actually think makes this quite interesting play for partnership teams is that it's not, partnership leaders are not like transactional in nature, and they understand that it's okay to invest early in that relationship and have a couple of conversations before actually something happens. I was offering this previously to coaches, consultants, agency owners, and there was that need to make it work quickly.
Yeah,
But right
sure.
now, when I'm working with partnership teams, there's not that pressure, and you should have seen like how amazing it is to get marketing person on call with partnership person and basically be there as a facilitator to align their goals and like how they can work together so both of them are excited to do this thing. And this was actually a very surprising thing that I've learned after a couple of months of doing this. It's very early stage. It's just so exciting to see that these light bulbs above their heads when they're breaking these silos and working together towards an interesting project.
Yes, it's like a downstream impact, right? Where if you think about what we're trying to do, our initial goal as a person developing this ecosystem, I think it's an important designator here. So we're talking about not just going and signing up a partner, right? For those of you listening, like I know we all index a little bit heavy in that direction sometimes, where we want that person in, that business in, we want to deliver value immediately, and we want to win, win, win. And maybe it's a salesperson in me, but I definitely know that feeling. I think if we approach this from the perspective of cultivating a relationship, a true dynamic of partnership, then it is about a more, I think to your point, slower cadence, a more appropriate cadence in the way that dynamic is established in the beginning, which is co-creating value. Then you're talking about bringing in other members of the organization at the C-suite level. So now you've got marketing in there. That's a nice little cross-functional alignment and builds value for them, and helps from an SEO perspective and helps from a just general reach and demand gen perspective. So our initial go-to-market now is about helping each other to increase opportunity, not just immediately go and say, what ops do you have? What deals can we close? How do we, sign a customer up? I really like that. When you think about the opportunity being certainly based off of the build stage, we just talked about obviously it sort of living throughout the ecosystem's longevity over the course of its lifetime. Anything you've learned with these customers you've been working with that we should share with the audience here around maybe types of content or the way that you should do it, i.e., like a short form better, or is a case study and something perhaps a little bit deeper with data more effective? Have you have any sort of early observations, if you will, in the work that you've been doing that could help our listeners think through how they themselves could go to market and attract, whether that is, target partners, or if it's a little bit more of a broad strokes approach wherein we should say, here's some general feedback on how to do it across, a variety of partners themselves?
So before I start talking about specific channels and formats, I think it's important to frame it in a way that create content, or let's say just think about the content that that your marketing team is already creating, and just ask yourself a question: how can I involve some potential partners in the content that marketing team is already creating? Because there needs to be a buy-in from your marketing team, and if you can lower the perceived effort they will need to put in to make this work, and you will just say, I can get you a couple of quotes to include in this article that you're writing. It will make it better. It's very easy internal sell then, because they see the value in that, featuring third party perspective, and you as a partnership person will actually get to build that relationship with that potential partner. So I think that when it comes to specific formats, especially when you're testing it, I wouldn't do anything that's like brand new. Like if you're not used to producing videos, don't do a video series. But what you can, for example, do is that you can create an article where you feature, your potential partners or decision makers from the companies that you want to partner with, and it will be almost like a list of, let's say, predictions for 2024. What these people think that will happen. So we asked 24 sales leaders about AI applications in 2024. This is what they said. And then you have 24 people that you can reach out to. They will feel absolutely amazing because you want to feature them in this content among other people they know. And your marketing team will be happy. You will be happy because you're building relationships with people within the companies who can introduce you further.
So it's thought leadership. It's taking what I'm hearing is like the simplistic way of what you're already doing well, but then directing that power towards thought leadership with the specific types of companies you want to work with. So it's a little bit of a cart before the horse moment in terms of the assumptive act of we're going to do something together already. Let's go ahead and think about how do we evolve that into true partnership.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. Is there anything that you would say not to do? So we talked about obviously like don't stepping outside the box. I love tactical stuff. As you know in the show, one of the things that's important to me is that folks walk away with a framework they can use. So your insight and your feedback so far has been invaluable around how to establish the baseline. What shouldn't I do? Like, is it better to go small first? Is volume more appropriate? You talked about, 24 sales leaders in this example. 24 might be a lot for me. It might not be enough for me. Do you have any learnings around size and sort of like definition of reach? Because I'm thinking about is like, maybe I've listened to you for the last 15 minutes or so, and I'm thinking I want to do this. Do I start small or do I go, large?
So definitely start small. The customers that I'm now working with, we are in the pilot stage of their projects, and it's framed around content collaboration. So let's say that you want to collaborate with 5 to 10 people. Collaborate meaning you want to feature them in the content that you're creating. So I wouldn't go higher than 10. And if you reverse engineer, how many prospects you need in that initial list, you want to see at least 30% positive reply rates. When I was doing it at Speak on Podcasts, I got like 85% positive reply rate, but it was because I already knew these people on LinkedIn. I interacted with them in the past. So if you want to build, 5 pieces of content or one piece of content featuring 5 people, you will need at least 30%, 30 prospects in that initial list. So
Okay.
start small, define one piece of content that you want to create or one content series, and include like 5 to 10 people maximum.
Yep, that's good feedback. Do you like LinkedIn for it? Do you like it for like content in terms of something somebody can download, a published piece of content? How do you think about format in that sense as well?
So I actually think about LinkedIn as a main distribution channel. And when I'm starting
Yeah.
conversations with potential customers, I usually check if they are active on LinkedIn. And it's because that then you need to embed yourself in that organization that you collaborated with. And if you can tag them on LinkedIn, they will receive notification. If you tag the person you collaborated with, they will receive notification. They will share it with their colleagues. That specific post.
Yep.
So it gives you more options to get more mileage from the content compared to just sending an email. Hey, your blog post is published. So if there's an option to leverage LinkedIn, I would definitely recommend you do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm a firm believer. I myself have seen an incredible reach and experience over the last 18 months since I started this show. It's been a really awesome journey for me. But what I've realized is that LinkedIn's powerful because it allows you not just to develop value, but to do it with folks that you don't necessarily intimately know. And I think I've talked about this before, but one of the things that I've experienced personally, and it's a lot of what you're describing, is that co-authoring is incredibly valuable. It helps me to learn. I do it all the time. I love being a part of other shows. I mean, for those of you that listen to me regularly, you see me pop up in other shows. I do that because I get to learn. And I think at the end of the day, LinkedIn is a good format, works because it is people helping people, ideally. And it's about the individual brand right now. We're looking at this in early 2024. I fully expect by the end of 25, you're going to see this crazy shift that'll take place wherein you see more and more individuals owning their company's opportunity and their brand and their partnership instead of the company itself trying to build that awareness. So I love it. It's been a great conversation. Is there any other feedback you want to share with the audience? I don't usually at the end sort of open it up wide, but I would love to hear if there's anything else top of mind for you as a learning takeaway, and then we'll wrap up.
So I think that, one of the key questions that people always ask me is how to actually do the outreach. So if you decide to do it yourself, definitely lead with what's in it for your prospect. So make them feel valued. Go directly to the point that, hey, you're creating this piece of content. You would like them to be featured because this reason and this reason. Maybe you saw their post. Maybe you heard them on podcast. And then be specific about where and how you will distribute the content and how many people will see it. Because then if you feature like some of these numbers there, that 10,000 people in your newsletter will receive this blog post that this person will be featured in, and it only takes them 5 minutes to answer that question, it's such a like no-brainer offer for them to like accept. So you will increase your reply rates massively. So always think what's in it for them and be specific about how you will distribute the content and how many people will see it.
That's great. You heard it here first, folks. Content-based partner acquisition, the wave of the future. It's been a great conversation, my friend. If folks want to reach out and get in touch, they want to learn about you, obviously the platform, I'm happy to plug it here. How do they do so? Where do they find you?
LinkedIn is the best. So just search for my name, Jakub Zajicek. I think it's better to just check the description for spelling of the last name.
You'll be in the description. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, find me there, or just go on my on the website, which is partneroutreach.io.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate you coming on the show. Folks, as always, I'm your host, Barrett King, and this has been Outcomes. I hope you enjoyed it. We welcome your feedback, your thoughts, your ideas, and have a great day.